What if Issei married Grafia and Yasaka? In a world where fate moved differently, Issei Hayate's life changed right after the war against Loki. After proving his strength, saving many lives, and showing his pure heart again and again, two powerful women began seeing him not just as a warrior, not just as a pervert with dreams, but as someone who could change their worlds. Grafia Lucifuge, the strongest queen of the underworld, had spent years living behind strict rules. She was known as the silver-haired queen, loyal, calm, and always controlling her emotions. But when she saw how Issei fought for Rias, how he risked his life even when he was scared, something inside her softened. She had seen countless devils, kings, and warriors in her lifetime, but none had Issei's honest courage. And slowly, she started to admire him. She kept it hidden, thinking it was wrong, thinking she could never be with someone like him. But admiration grew into warmth, warmth grew into affection, and affection turned into love she tried to hide. Yasaka, the beautiful leader of the Kyoto Yukai, also felt something for Issei. She watched him fight to protect Kunu and her entire land, even when it wasn't his problem. She saw the fire in his eyes, the kindness in his voice, the way he spoke to Kunu like a true older brother. As a mother and a leader, she respected him deeply. As a woman, she became drawn to him. Issei had a way of making even tired hearts want to hope again. Yasaka had carried the weight of her people for so long that she forgot what it felt like to be loved. Issei reminded her. Life moved on, battles came and went, and slowly both Grafia and Yasaka started being around him more. At first they were just talking, training, sparring, laughing awkwardly, sharing small conversations no one else noticed. Issei didn't understand the hints, of course. He was clueless about romance unless someone dropped a mountain on his head. But he loved being around them. Grafia made him feel calm and respected. Yasaka made him feel warm and welcomed. For the first time, Issei felt like he wasn't just a piece in someone else's game. He felt important. One night, after a dangerous mission with the Gremory household, Issei was badly injured. Rias was away, fighting another battle, and it was Grafia who carried him back. She stayed beside him, healing him quietly. Her hand trembled when she touched his face, and when he opened his eyes, she quickly hid her emotions. But Issei noticed something soft in her eyes. For the first time, he realized Grafia wasn't just the perfect queen, she was also a woman who felt pain, hopes, and love. Then came Kyoto. Yasaka invited Issei to rest after another tiring fight. Kunu hugged him like always, and Yasaka watched him with gentle eyes. That night she finally told him how much he meant to her. Issei was shocked, confused, overwhelmed. He didn't want to hurt her, but he also didn't want to lie. He said he needed time. That time changed everything. Issei found himself thinking about Grafia and Yasaka more every day. The way Grafia's smile appeared only when she was with him. The way Yasaka's voice soothed him like no one else. He realized he admired Grafia's strength and loved Yasaka's warmth. And both of them loved him not because he was the Red Dragon Emperor, not because he was strong, but because he was Issei Hayate, a boy who fought for what he believed in. When Rias learned about their feelings, she was shocked at first, but she also understood. She knew Issei's dream of a harem and knew he always treated women with respect. She saw that Grafia and Yasaka truly loved him, not for power, not for status, but because he changed their hearts. Rias accepted it, and that opened the path. In a special meeting between the underworld and the Kyoto Yukai faction, something unexpected happened. Grafia and Yasaka both stepped forward and declared their love for Issei in front of everyone. The room went silent. Devils, angels, dragons, everyone was stunned. Issei, shaking and overwhelmed, felt his heart pounding like never before. Then he spoke honestly, without fear. I love both of you. I don't know if I'm good enough. I'm still growing. But if you want me, if you really want to be with me, I'll give everything I have. The leaders talked, the factions debated, and finally both sides agreed. A devil queen and a Yukai leader marrying the Red Dragon Emperor would create peace between their worlds. But more importantly, it was something born from pure love. The wedding became a symbol of unity. Grafia walked with a rare smile, her silver hair glowing like moonlight. Yasaka appeared in golden divine attire, beautiful like a goddess. Issei stood between them, nervous but proud, finally believing he deserved happiness. When the vows were complete, both women held his hands tightly, and Issei felt something he never felt before, a home that wasn't a house, but the hearts of the people who loved him. Their new life wasn't easy. Graphia had responsibilities in the underworld. Yasaka had duties in Kyoto. Issei trained harder than ever to protect both households. But they built a family together. Yasaka's daughter Kunu adored Issei and accepted him as her father. Graphia found peace and happiness she never thought she'd experience. And Issei? He became stronger not because of power, but because of the love that surrounded him. Every day started with warmth, ended with comfort, and was filled with laughter, teasing, training, affection, and moments where Graphia would blush quietly while Yasaka giggled softly at Issei's reactions. Issei Hayato, once the weakest boy in Ko, became the husband of two powerful queens, not because of destiny, but because he earned their hearts, and the world changed because of the love they shared, with peace growing stronger as the three of them walked forward together. A future built on love, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond of a devil queen, a fox goddess, and the red dragon emperor who loved them both. Night fell gently over the mansion, warm and quiet like a soft blanket. The children were asleep, the halls were silent, and only a faint golden glow from the lanterns lit the long corridor. Issei walked slowly, feeling the cool floor under his feet, feeling his heart beating faster with every step. He didn't know why the air felt different tonight, heavier, sweeter, almost pulling him forward like invisible hands. He stopped when he reached the balcony door. The curtains swayed gently, and he heard a soft, calm breath from outside. When he stepped out, he saw Graphia standing there, silver hair shining under the moonlight like strands of water. She wasn't in her usual uniform. She wore something simple, something soft, something that made her feel less like the strongest queen and more like a woman whose heart was no longer locked behind walls. She turned to him slowly, and her eyes softened in a way she showed only when no one else was watching. Issei felt a warm pressure in his chest. Graphia rarely let herself be seen like this, unguarded, gentle, almost shy. "You're awake," she said quietly. "I couldn't sleep," Issei whispered. "Feels like something is calling me." Graphia lowered her eyes, and Issei felt the air shift. She stepped closer, not with the confidence of a queen, but with the hesitant grace of someone who longed for warmth. Her fingers brushed against his arm, a small, soft touch, but it felt like fire running through him. "Issei, may I be selfish tonight?" she asked, voice trembling just enough for him to notice. He didn't answer with words. He simply took her hand, warm, delicate, careful, and pulled her into him. She gasped very softly when her body met his, her breath catching against his chest. Her hands rested on his shoulders, light at first, then slowly gripping stronger, as she allowed herself to lean into him fully. Issei touched her cheek gently, sliding his thumb along her skin. Graphia closed her eyes at the touch, letting out a breath she'd held for years. He felt her relax, melt, and trust him completely. When he leaned in, she didn't move away. Their lips met softly at first, warm, slow, learning each other's shape. Graphia's breath shook. Issei's hands slid around her waist, pulling her closer. Her fingers tangled in his shirt, gripping it like she didn't want him to disappear. The kiss deepened, not rush, not wild, but full of restrained hunger she had carried for so long. Her body trembled lightly against his, not from fear, but from emotion too big to hide. A soft sound escaped her throat, half sigh, half disbelief, and Issei felt heat climb up his spine. When they finally pulled apart, Graphia's cheeks were flushed, her eyes shining like silver glass. She rested her forehead against his, breathing slow and warm. "Issei, you make me feel alive," she whispered. He held her tighter, letting his hands glide up and down her back in a slow, comforting rhythm. Graphia pressed closer, her heartbeat matching his. She wasn't the queen in this moment. She was just a woman longing for closeness with the man she loved. But then a soft rustle came from the doorway behind them, and Yasaka stepped into the moonlight. She wore a kimono loosely tied, golden hair falling around her shoulders like fire. Her eyes held warmth, but also a deep, knowing softness. She watched the two of them for a moment, no jealousy, no anger, just gentle affection. I wondered where you went, Yasaka said with a small smile. Seems you both found each other tonight. Grafia didn't pull away. Instead, she looked at Yasaka with a calm, steady breath, like she had been expecting this moment too. Issei felt Yasaka's hand slide into his from the side. Her touch was warm, playful, yet filled with a deeper emotion. She stepped closer until she stood beside Grafia, resting her free hand on Grafia's arm in support. You don't have to choose, Yasaka whispered. We're not here to compete, we're here to love the same man. Issei's heart pounded as Yasaka leaned in, softly kissing his cheek, then his jaw, lingering there with warm breath brushing his skin. She pressed closer, her body soft and comforting, her scent warm like sunlight. Grafia watched for a moment, then placed her hand gently on Yasaka's, accepting her presence, accepting their shared bond. Yasaka smiled at her softly, the two women standing close beside him like two halves of one heart. The three of them stayed in that warm embrace, moonlight touching their skin, breaths mixing in the quiet night. Yasaka rested her head on Issei's shoulder. Grafia slipped her fingers around his back. Issei held both of them carefully, one arm around each, pulling them close without hesitation. No words were needed. Their shared warmth spoke louder than anything. Yasaka lifted her head and kissed Issei softly, slow and tender, her body pressing gently against his. When she pulled away, Grafia kissed the other side of his face, her touch lighter but filled with emotion. Both women leaned into him, their hands sliding along his arms, their breaths warm on his neck. It wasn't wild. It wasn't rushed. It was slow, soft, full of deep longing and trust. Their touches grew warmer, more confident, their bodies pressing to his with gentle passion that made his heart race. Issei felt overwhelmed, not by desire alone, but by the love that flowed into him from both sides. Yasaka whispered in his ear, voice warm like honey. Tonight, we're yours. Grafia whispered on the other side, voice trembling with emotion. And we are each other's. They kissed him again, one on the lips, one along his neck, their hands exploring his body with careful, sensual closeness. Their breath, their warmth, their soft sounds filled the balcony as the moon watched quietly above. Issei held them both tightly as the night grew deeper, and their shared passion pulled them inside, into the quiet dim light of their room, where shadows moved gently and warmth never left. The night was long, tender, and full of emotion, a night where love became something deeper, something binding, something unforgettable, something that made all three hearts beat as one. And when morning came, they woke wrapped in each other's arms, breaths slow, bodies warm, hearts satisfied in a way words could never capture. Their love had grown, not only stronger, but unbreakable. Morning came softly. Warm sunlight slid across the room, touching three sleeping figures wrapped in one another. Issei woke first, blinking slowly as he felt gentle weight on both sides of him, Grafia's soft breathing against his chest and Yasaka's warm arm draped across his waist. For a few seconds he simply stared at them, feeling the calmest happiness he had ever known. Grafia was usually the first to wake, but now she slept peacefully, her lips slightly parted, silver hair falling across his shoulder. She looked different like this, softer, freer, as if the chains she wore for years had loosened. Yasaka's golden hair spread messily across the pillow, her cheek pressed gently against his arm. Her peaceful smile made his heart squeeze. Issei didn't move. He didn't want to break the moment. Yasaka stirred first. She opened her golden eyes, slow and warm, and the moment she saw him, her smile grew deeper. She lifted her hand and gently brushed her fingers along his jawline. "Morning, my love," she whispered, voice soft like warm wind. Before Issei could reply, Grafia shifted, her hands sliding lightly across his chest. She blinked awake, lifting her head. Her silver eyes met his, and she gave him a quiet smile that held emotion far stronger than words. "Good morning, Issei." Issei felt heat creep up his face as both women looked at him with the same softness, the same love, the same quiet desire. Yasaka's fingers slid down his arm and laced with his. Grafia rested her hand on his chest, feeling his heartbeat through her palm. The warmth of their touch spread through him like fire and comfort woven together. The room was quiet. Only their breathing filled the air. "I still can't believe this is real," Issei whispered. "That both of you want me like this." Grafia leaned forward, pressing a soft kiss to his cheek, slow and warm. "It's real," she whispered. "And it's ours," Yasaka followed, kissing the other side of his face with warm lips and a gentle smile. "You've given us happiness, Issei. You deserve this." Issei let out a quiet breath as their hands slid up his arms, their bodies pressing softly against him as they shifted closer. Yasaka's head rested against his shoulder, her hair brushing his neck, sending shivers down his spine. Graphia traced a small circle on his chest, her fingers gentle and teasing. Their closeness wasn't rushed. It wasn't wild. It was soft, slow, and filled with deep affection, sensual in a way that made Issei's heart race without crossing any line. Graphia whispered, "Issei, last night was beautiful." Yasaka's voice followed, warm and low. "And tonight can be too, if you wish." Issei swallowed, suddenly aware of how intensely both women watched him. Warm eyes, gentle smiles, quiet desire simmering beneath their calm expressions. But before he could answer, Kuna's voice echoed down the hall. "Mum! Issei! Breakfast!" All three froze. Then Graphia hid her face against Issei's shoulder, embarrassed. Yasaka burst into quiet laughter, and Issei felt his soul leave his body. "We're dead," he whispered. Graphia whispered, even quieter, "Please do not let her enter." Yasaka nodded firmly. "Agreed." They scrambled out of bed, trying to look normal, but their tangled hair and flushed faces were impossible to hide. When they stepped out of the room, Kuna stared at them suspiciously. Graphia straightened her composure instantly, a perfect mask, but Yasaka struggled not to giggle. Issei froze like a statue. Kuna narrowed her eyes. "Why do all three of you look weird?" Issei choked on air. Yasaka nearly fell over laughing. Graphia gently pushed Kuna toward the dining room. "No reason," she said calmly. "We simply woke up late." Kuna shrugged, believing every word, and ran off. Issei mouthed a silent, "Thank you," to Graphia. She gave him a tiny smirk, rare and beautiful. The day moved peacefully. They trained together. They ate together. They talked about future plans, Graphia managing underworld diplomacy, Yasaka preparing for a festival, and Issei studying more political strategy. But every time their hands brushed, every time their eyes met, every time one of them smiled at him a little too long, that same warm tension returned. Evening fell. The house grew quiet again. Yasaka sat beside Issei in the garden, watching lanterns float in the koi pond. The glow reflected in her eyes as she leaned her head on his shoulder. "You looked handsome this morning," she said softly. "Flustered, warm, trying to hide what happened." Issei's face turned crimson. Yasaka giggled, sliding her fingers along his wrist. Graphia approached them silently, graceful as moonlight. She sat on Issei's other side, placing her hand gently on his thigh, not suggestive, just intimate, claiming closeness. "You were very sweet last night," she said, her voice a little shy. "I would like more moments like that." Issei felt his entire body heat. Graphia's fingers brushed his, intertwining slowly. Yasaka leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. "Issei," she whispered, "let us love you again." Their eyes held his, two different flames, one silver, one gold, both burning with a gentle, passionate desire. Issei's breath shook. He took both their hands, and the night deepened. The air grew warm again. Their touches became slow and tender, filled with emotion. Yasaka kissed him softly, her lips moving with warm affection. Graphia kissed the other side of his neck, her breath trembling with need and love. Their bodies pressed close again, their hands exploring gently, intimately, slowly. Moonlight painted their silhouettes as their shared passion grew deeper, but never rushed, the kind of sensual connection born from trust and love, not hunger. The night wrapped around them like a warm blanket as they disappeared back inside together, three hearts beating in one rhythm. And when dawn returned, they were once again resting in each other's arms, wrapped in warmth, love, and the quiet glow of a deeper bond. Peace in the mansion never lasted long. A few days after the night of shared warmth, Issei was walking through the garden when he felt someone watching him. At first he thought it was Yasaka or Graphia, but the air felt different, sharp, cold, familiar in a wrong way. He turned, and a woman cloaked in dark crimson stepped out from behind a sakura tree. Her eyes gleamed with devil aura, and her smile was a little too confident. It's been a while, Red Dragon Emperor. Issei froze. He knew that voice. She was once a noble devil who had wanted him as her pawn before he ever became a hero. She was powerful, beautiful, and dangerously ambitious. Her name was Siristra Valen, someone Grafia had warned him about long ago, but seeing her now, with her long black hair flowing and her crimson eyes locked on him, he felt a small shiver crawl up his spine. Siristra stepped closer, her heels clicking softly on the stone path. I heard you married not one, but 2 queens, she purred. A fox goddess, and a silver queen herself. Truly impressive. Issei stepped back uneasy. What do you want, Siristra? She tilted her head, smiling, her eyes lowering to his chest. You. Issei felt heat rush to his face, not from desire, but from shock. You can't just. I'm married and, I know, she whispered, stepping closer, stopping only inches from him. But that never stopped desire from blooming, did it? He backed up again until his shoulders touched the wooden pillar behind him. Siristra's hand lifted, hovering close to his cheek but not touching. You've grown stronger. Handsome. Confident. Her eyes narrowed with hungry determination. It's no wonder 2 powerful women fell for you. Issei opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, a sudden wave of cold air froze the moment. Grafia appeared. Her silver aura flowed around her like a storm barely held back. Her eyes, normally calm and soft around Issei, were sharp enough to cut steel. Siristra, Grafia said, voice low. You are far from welcome here. Siristra smiled slightly, unfazed. Ah. The queen arrives. I wondered when the wife would appear. Grafia didn't blink. She stepped between Issei and Siristra with silent, deadly confidence. State your business, Siristra shrugged. Simple curiosity. I wanted to see the man who managed to melt your heart. She leaned slightly to the side, eyes peeking at Issei. And he's even more interesting up close. Grafia's hand subtly reached behind her, touching Issei's thigh, not in a sensual way, but in a protective, possessive way, grounding him and showing Siristra whose territory she was entering. Leave, Grafia said again, more firmly. Siristra's smile grew. She leaned forward, closer to Grafia, like 2 predators circling. Or what? Will you attack a noble guest? Grafia's voice dropped to a chilling whisper. You stopped being a guest the moment you tried to touch my husband. The garden air vibrated with tension. Issei swallowed hard. He had seen Grafia angry before, but never like this. Her jealousy wasn't wild or loud. It was precise, quiet, lethal. Then Yasaka arrived, her presence warm and soothing, but her eyes sharp with protective fire. Issei, she said softly, stepping to his other side and touching his hand. Are you all right? Issei nodded, but Yasaka saw the tension in his shoulders and turned her gaze to Siristra. You came only to cause trouble, Yasaka said gently but firmly. Leave before you regret it. Siristra smiled, amused more than threatened. So both wives are here now. How lovely! Her eyes scanned the 3 of them, Issei in the middle, flanked by 2 queens whose love for him burned bright and fierce. This is going to be fun, she whispered. I think I'll stay in this territory for a while. There are things I want to test. She stepped back into the shadows. But don't worry, Issei. We'll talk again soon. Her body vanished like dark mist. The moment she was gone, Yasaka exhaled slowly, her fingers tightening around Issei's hand. Grafia turned to him immediately, cupping his cheek with a trembling hand. Did she touch you? No, Issei said gently, placing his hand over hers. I'm okay. Grafia let out a quiet breath and leaned her forehead against his shoulder, calming herself. Yasaka stepped closer, sliding her arm around his waist, grounding him with her warmth. You 2 got really protective, Issei said softly, a little surprised. Grafia whispered. Because you are ours. Yasaka nodded, pressing her head against his chest. And someone trying to take you hurts. Issei felt his heart swell, with love, with guilt, with warmth. He wrapped both women in his arms, pulling them close, holding them as tightly as they held him. Grafia's voice trembled slightly. I thought I lost you, for a moment. Yasaka lifted her head and kissed Issei's neck softly, her lips warm and trembling. We don't want to share you with anyone else, Issei. Only between us. Their bodies pressed closer to him, not in lust, but in deep emotional intimacy. Their hands slid up his arms, their foreheads resting against him, their breaths warm and shaky. Issei held them both, whispering, "I'm not going anywhere." Grafia kissed his jaw softly, slow and affectionate. Yasaka kissed the other side of his neck, warm and lingering. Their touches grew more tender, more sensual as they reassured themselves he was theirs. Two queens holding the man they loved. But even as they shared warmth in the fading light, Siristra watched from a distance. Her eyes gleamed with a dangerous mixture of desire and ambition, and she whispered to herself, "I will break their perfect little love, and then I'll take him." The peaceful life of the three lovers was about to be tested by jealousy, politics, and a woman who refused to give up. 4 days after Siristra's visit, the mansion felt tense. Guards doubled patrols, Yasaka sharpened the barrier around the estate, and Grafia quietly prepared defensive spells that only she could use. Issei trained harder than ever, the memory of Siristra's hungry stare burning in his mind. But the real storm didn't start until midnight 3 days later. Issei was in the courtyard practicing with boosted gear when he felt it, a sharp pressure in the air, like claws digging into the world itself. His instincts screamed. Then, a blast of crimson magic exploded in the sky. The shockwave shook the entire mansion. Issei didn't think. He launched into the air, wings bursting out behind him as he shot toward the explosion. Below him, Yasaka ran across the courtyard, golden aura blazing, tails flaring like lit torches. Grafia appeared on the rooftop, eyes cold, magic circles spinning around her with deadly precision. "What is that?" Issei shouted. Yasaka's eyes narrowed. "Her!" Another blast ripped through the sky, a spear of blood-red magic aiming directly for the mansion. Grafia reacted instantly. She raised her hand, and a massive ice barrier appeared, shielding the estate. The spear hit the ice and cracked it, sending freezing shards raining down. "She's challenging us openly," Grafia said, voice low. Then a voice echoed across the night. "Issei Hayadu!" Siristra hovered above them, surrounded by a swirling vortex of crimson magic. Her eyes burned with excitement, her dark cloak snapping in the wind like wings. "I came for what I want!" Issei clenched his fists. "You're insane!" she smiled. "Maybe. But I want you, and I will test your wives, to see if they deserve you." Grafia's aura flared dangerously. "Enough!" She motioned with her hand and the temperature dropped instantly. Ice hurled upward like spears, aiming for Siristra's legs. Siristra spun, slicing the ice midair with blazing red magic. "Good!" she purred. "Fight me!" Yasaka shot forward next, her golden flame twisting into a fox-shaped blast. Siristra blocked it with a barrier but skidded back in the sky, surprised. "You're both stronger than rumors said." Issei joined as his gauntlet glowed crimson. "Boost!" His punch tore through Siristra's barrier and grazed her shoulder. She hissed, her smile growing wider. "Ah, that's the fire I wanted to see." But she didn't retreat. She dove toward him fast, too fast, and slammed her hand onto his chest. A strange pulse of magic surged through him, and Issei's body locked for half a second. Grafia's scream cracked the sky. "Don't touch him!" Ice magic shot forward like a hurricane, slamming into Siristra and throwing her across the courtyard. Siristra crashed into the ground but rose with a slow, sinful grin. "You're jealous." "Adorable." Grafia didn't answer with words. She appeared in front of Siristra instantly, grabbing her throat with freezing magic, lifting her off the ground. Yasaka appeared beside her, aura blazing fiercely. "This is your last warning," Yasaka said softly, voice trembling with fury. "Leave. Now." Siristra smiled even while being choked. "You love him that much?" Grafia's voice dropped into pure, icy truth. "Yes. More than you can imagine." Siristra's eyes flickered with something: jealousy, anger, desire, longing. Then she snapped her fingers. A massive explosion erupted behind them. Issei turned just in time. Dozens of crimson magic beasts crawled out of the ground, roaring, claws dripping energy. Siristra laughed. "Let's see if your love can protect everything." The beasts charged. Issei flew into the middle of the pack, fists blazing. "Boost! Boost! Boost!" Each punch shattered a beast into dust. But for every one he defeated, 2 more appeared. He blocked claws, kicked away jaws, dodged blasts. The ground cracked under the force of the battle. "Grafia! Yasaka!" he shouted. But they were already moving. Yasaka leaped into the air, her tails spinning and releasing a storm of golden fire that burned an entire row of beasts at once. Her flames curved around Issei, shielding him. Graphia spread her arms, and her magic exploded outward in a blizzard so sharp the air itself sliced through enemies. Ice pillars erupted from the earth, impaling any beast that got too close. But Siristra wasn't finished. She pointed her hand at Issei. A massive crimson spear formed, larger than the mansion itself. "Try surviving this!" Issei braced himself, but Graphia screamed his name and teleported in front of him. The spear hit her shield. The shield shattered. Graphia was thrown backward, her body crashing through 2 stone walls. "Graphia!" Issei roared. Yasaka's aura snapped. She unleashed a shockwave of foxfire so strong it disintegrated an entire group of beasts instantly. But Siristra appeared behind Yasaka like a shadow. "You're too soft." She struck Yasaka with a blast of concentrated crimson energy. Yasaka's body twisted midair, crashing into the ground, cracking it like glass. Issei felt something break inside his chest. His wives were hurt. His family was threatened. His home was under attack. A roar of pure rage tore out of his throat. "Siristra!" A massive crimson aura exploded from Issei, deeper, darker, filled with draconic fury. The ground trembled. The sky cracked. Even Siristra's eyes widened as the air bent around him. Drake's voice thundered. "Partner, this is the Welsh dragon's wrath." Issei vanished. He reappeared behind Siristra. His fist glowed like a meteor. "Don't touch my family!" His punch connected with her stomach, the shockwave blasting the air apart. Siristra screamed as she was hurled through trees, through stone, through the forest at terrifying speed. When she finally crashed, she lay coughing blood, eyes wide. Issei stood over her, chest heaving, aura blazing like a dragon born from fury. Siristra laughed weakly, wiping blood from her lips. "So, this is your true strength." Issei's aura tightened around his body like a flaming cocoon. "If you ever touch Graphia or Yasaka again, there won't be a next time." Siristra stared at him, not afraid, but something else. Something like longing mixed with pain. Then she whispered, "I see why they love you." Before Issei could respond, she teleported away in a burst of crimson smoke. The beasts vanished with her. The battlefield fell silent. Issei turned and rushed to his wives. Graphia sat up slowly, breath shaky, frost clinging to her hair. Yasaka rose to her feet with a soft groan, brushing dirt off her kimono. "Are you two okay?" Issei asked, panicked. Graphia reached up and touched his cheek with a trembling hand. "You protected us," she whispered, voice soft and emotional. Yasaka pressed her forehead to his chest, her arms wrapping around him tightly. "We're safe, because of you." Issei held them tightly, pulling both women into his embrace. Their bodies pressed against him, warm, shaking, alive. Graphia hugged his back, her lips brushing his neck softly. Yasaka wrapped around his front, kissing his shoulder with trembling relief. The three held each other for a long, breathless moment. Alive, together, unbroken. But Siristra's attack meant only one thing. This was no longer about jealousy. It was war, and Issei would protect his wives, no matter who he had to fight. The mansion felt different after the attack. It was quiet, too quiet, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Guards patrolled every corner. Barriers glowed faintly around the estate. Kunu stayed close to Yasaka, sensing the tension even if no one told her the details. The household tried to behave normally, but fear lived in the shadows now, whispering that Siristra would return. Issei felt it the strongest. He couldn't sleep, couldn't rest, couldn't stop thinking of the way Graphia crashed through walls and how Yasaka fell with pain in her voice. Every night he replayed it in his mind, anger gripping his chest like claws. Tonight was no different. He stood alone in the empty courtyard, fists clenched, breath sharp. Moonlight washed over him as he threw punch after punch, each one louder than the last. Boost, boost, boost! Cracks spread across the ground as his aura flared. But the anger didn't go away. Then he felt a warm touch on his back. "Issei," Yasaka said softly. Her voice was gentle, but he immediately felt the tremble beneath it. She walked around him and cupped his face with warm hands. Her thumbs brushed his cheeks tenderly. "You're hurting yourself." Issei's shoulders shook. "I wasn't strong enough. She hurt both of you because I wasn't fast enough." Yasaka's golden eyes softened. She leaned forward, pressing her forehead gently against his. Issei, we're alive because of you. She wrapped her arms around him slowly, her body warm, soft, grounding him. Her scent filled his senses, soothing the storm inside him. You saved us, she whispered. Don't carry this pain alone. Issei held her tightly, his breath hot against her neck. She stroked his hair gently, kissing his temple with slow, loving tenderness. But a moment later, another presence joined them. Graphia, silver hair glowing in the moonlight, eyes soft with deep emotion. She walked up to him, touched his arm, and whispered, Let us heal you. Issei didn't resist. He wrapped his arms around both women, holding them close as their warmth pressed into him from both sides. Graphia's fingers slid along his back gently, soothing. Yasaka's lips brushed his shoulder, calming. Their closeness wasn't desire, it was comfort, it was love, it was connection. The tension melted from his muscles, and for the first time in days he breathed. But peace never lasted. A distant explosion echoed through the forest. Issei immediately snapped into focus, aura flaring. Graphia and Yasaka tensed, eyes sharp. Then a guard sprinted toward them, panicking. Lady Yasaka! Lady Graphia! Lord Issei! It's Kuna! Every heart froze. What happened? Yasaka demanded, voice sharp as a blade. A portal! It appeared out of nowhere. She vanished. We think she was taken. Yasaka's scream tore out of her throat like something breaking. Graphia's hands trembled visibly. Issei felt the world stop. Everything inside him turned into fire. Siristra, Graphia whispered, her voice breaking. She's targeting our family. Yasaka was already shaking, fury and fear overwhelming her. Issei stepped forward, aura erupting like a storm. Where did they go? Before the guard could answer, a small crimson message burned itself into the sky like a twisted invitation. If you want your daughter, come alone. Siristra's voice echoed faintly from the message. Let's see if your love can survive the choice. Yasaka collapsed to her knees, tears falling, breath breaking. Graphia knelt beside her, holding her tightly even as her eyes glowed with murderous cold. Issei felt something inside him snap. He placed a hand on both of their shoulders, firm, steady, burning with determination. I'm going to get Kuna back, he said quietly. Yasaka grabbed his shirt with shaking fingers. You can't go alone. She'll kill you. Graphia shook her head, voice cracking. She wants to isolate you. It's a trap. Issei leaned down and kissed Yasaka's forehead gently, holding her face in his hands. I won't die. Not while you're waiting for me. Then he turned and kissed Graphia softly, pressing his forehead to hers. And not while you need me. Their breaths mingled, trembling, warm, full of fear and love. Graphia whispered. Come back to us. Yasaka clung to his arm, whispering. Bring my daughter home. Issei pulled away, slowly, reluctantly, and walked into the glowing portal before they could stop him. As soon as he stepped through, the world around him changed. He emerged in a dark, ancient temple deep in the forest. Torches lit the walls with crimson flames. The air was thick with oppressive aura, and there, in the center of the room, Kuna was suspended inside a glowing magic seal, unconscious but unharmed, and Siristra stood beside her. She was dressed differently now, dark armor mixed with flowing crimson cloth, her hair wild, her eyes glowing with desperate intensity. Well, she said softly, you came. Issei's aura burst forth instantly. Let her go. Siristra didn't flinch. Instead, she walked slowly toward him, stopping only inches from his face. You fight so hard for them, she whispered. It makes me jealous. Issei clenched his fists. This isn't love. It's obsession. Siristra's smile cracked. Maybe. But obsession is still love when the heart refuses to let go. She spread her arms, and the seal around Kuna brightened. Defeat me, and she lives. Lose, and she dies. Issei roared as his aura exploded. Drag, partner! Unleash everything. For your family? Red flames flooded the temple. Siristra summoned a massive spear of crimson energy. Issei charged, fists glowing like molten fire. Their clash shook the entire temple. Blow after blow. Magic tearing through walls. Shockwaves cracking the ground. The air screamed as their powers collided. Siristra fought wildly, beautiful, deadly, desperate. But Issei fought like a man who had everything to lose. He roared. For Graphia! He struck. For Yasaka! He punched. For Kuna! His fist tore through Siristra's spear. And then, His final punch struck her chest. The shockwave shattered the seal, cracked the pillars, and sent Siristra flying into the far wall so hard the stone exploded around her. She collapsed to the ground, coughing, beaten at last. Kunu fell freely. Issei caught her in his arms before she touched the ground. She clung to him, waking slowly, crying softly. Papa! Issei held her close, tears falling from his chin onto her hair. I'm here! I'm here, Kunu! You're safe! She wrapped her small arms around his neck and cried into his chest. Behind him, Siristra lay broken on the floor. But she wasn't smiling anymore. She whispered weakly, Why couldn't you love me? Issei looked at her with sadness, not hate. Because my heart already belongs to them. Siristra closed her eyes, shocked, heart wounded deeper than any blow. Issei carried Kunu back through the portal. Grafia and Yasaka were waiting, shaking, crying, terrified. When they saw Kunu in his arms, they ran forward. Yasaka fell to her knees, hugging her daughter tightly, sobbing against her hair. Grafia held Issei's face in both hands, tears streaming down her cheeks. You came back, she whispered brokenly. Issei pulled both of them into his arms, holding them as tightly as he could. I'll always come back. The three held each other under the moonlight, warm bodies trembling, hearts overflowing. Their love hadn't broken. It had become unshakable. But Siristra was still alive, and her heart was becoming something dangerous. The mansion breathed again. Kunu was safe. Yasaka held her almost every minute. Grafia checked her twice an hour. Issei didn't leave their side unless he absolutely had to. The family had been shaken to the core, but in the quiet moments when Yasaka's fingers brushed Issei's hand or Grafia leaned softly against his chest, the warmth came back. They weren't broken. They were stronger, but the peace was thin as glass. Everyone knew Siristra wasn't gone, just defeated, and someone like her never crawled away quietly. Issei couldn't shake the memory of her last expression, pain, heartbreak, fury twisting her eyes just before she collapsed. It wasn't normal. It felt like something deeper was tearing her apart, and he was right, because deep in the ruins of the temple where she fell, her body lay still, until crimson light began to spread around her. Her fingers twitched. Her blood glowed. A dark voice, cold, ancient, hungry, echoed in the chamber. You seek what you cannot have. Shall I give you the power to take it? Siristra's eyes opened slowly, glowing faint red. She whispered, breath trembling. Yes, give me strength. The magic swallowed her whole. A storm was coming, but Issei didn't know. Not yet. For now, the mansion lived in rare, quiet peace. On the balcony that night, Issei sat with Grafia and Yasaka close by. Yasaka rested her head on his shoulder, her tails wrapping around him softly. Grafia held his hand gently, her thumbs stroking his skin with warm tenderness. Neither woman said much. They didn't need to. They were simply grateful he had returned. Soft lantern light washed over them as warm night wind brushed their hair. Kunu slept safely inside. The distant sound of crickets filled the silence. Yasaka lifted her head slowly. Issei, you were brave, she whispered. I would have lost my mind if you hadn't come back. Her fingers slid across his cheek, tender and warm. He could feel the lingering fear behind her touch. Grafia leaned closer from the other side, brushing her forehead gently against his temple. You protected our daughter. Our home. Us. Her voice trembled. You risked everything. Issei turned to her, cupping her cheek gently. Grafia closed her eyes at the touch, leaning into his palm like she found peace in it. Yasaka took his other hand, intertwining fingers tightly as if anchoring herself to him. Issei, she whispered, her voice soft but filled with deep emotion. Let us hold you tonight, just like you held us. Their bodies leaned into him at once, warm, soft, familiar. Their breasts touched his skin. Their fingers traced gentle lines along his arms. Their hearts pressed against him in quiet, sensual rhythm. Grafia kissed his jaw softly, slow, lingering, full of meaning rather than hunger. Yasaka rested her lips against his neck, her breath trembling slightly, her fingers lightly brushing his chest. The warmth grew, not rushed, not wild, just deep, emotional closeness that made Issei's heart pound in his ears. Their touch wasn't about desire alone, it was reassurance, connection, gratitude, vulnerability. Grafia whispered against his skin. You're ours, and we are yours. Yasaka's voice followed, soft as warm wind. Tonight, We want to feel that we're still together. Still whole. Issei pulled them both into his arms, one on each side, holding their bodies close, pressing them against him. Their warmth wrapped around him. Their hands explored gently, carefully, lovingly. Their kisses deepened, slow, warm, filled with longing. Graphia's breath warmed his ear. Yasaka's fingers traced his back. Their bodies molded against him as the night darkened, and the balcony became a cocoon of shared intimacy. The tension faded. Only love remained, but peace rarely lasted. Because just as their breaths grew steady and their closeness settled into warm, quiet affection, a shockwave ripped through the sky, glass shattered, light flared outside the estate. A crimson aura surged like a lightning storm. Issei jerked up instantly, protective instinct exploding in his chest. Graphia and Yasaka stood with him, their auras rising. Outside, in the sky, hovering above the mansion, Siristra floated, wrapped in a horrifying new aura. Her body glowed with unstable crimson cracks, like magic burning through her. Her eyes were no longer normal. They were bright, molten red, crying energy. She wasn't just stronger, she was corrupted. She screamed Issei's name, voice trembling between rage and despair. Issei! The force of her scream shattered the front gate. Yasaka's eyes widened in terror. Graphia's magic flared in icy fury. But Issei felt something else. A deep, cold dread in his stomach. Siristra was no longer acting human. This was obsession turned into something monstrous. Before anyone could react, Siristra fired a beam of crimson energy toward the mansion, far stronger than anything she had used before. Yasaka shouted, "Issei, move!" Graphia conjured a wall of ice, but the beam cracked it instantly. Issei moved. He flew forward, taking the hit head-on. The explosion shook the entire sky. Issei was thrown back, body slamming into the courtyard ground, cracking stone beneath him. Graphia screamed his name. Yasaka rushed down to him, aura blazing wildly. Siristra hovered closer, hair wild, tears glowing red as they streamed down her face. "Why won't you love me? Why do they get you, and I don't?" Her voice shook with agony and fury. "If I can have you, no one will." She aimed a final, massive blast at him. Yasaka and Graphia both jumped in front of Issei. "No!" Issei roared. He forced himself up, aura erupting like a dragon awakening. Drake's voice thundered, "Partner, this is no longer a fight. This is survival." Issei rose into the sky, wings blazing, fists burning with crimson power. Siristra's attack fired. Issei tore through it with a roar that shook the clouds. He punched the blast aside, then charged toward her. But she vanished, reappearing behind him, raw aura crackling. She grabbed his shoulder, screaming in pain and obsession. "Just let me love you!" Issei broke free and clashed with her midair. Their blows shook the forest. Crimson and silver and gold lights lit the night as Yasaka and Graphia joined the battle. It wasn't a duel anymore. It was a war of hearts. A corrupted, broken love versus a bond of true devotion. And Siristra's power kept growing. If they didn't stop her soon, she would destroy everything. The night sky burned red. Siristra floated above the shattered courtyard, her body cracked with glowing crimson light. Magic leaked from her skin like steam. Her hair floated wildly, her eyes drowned in a mix of rage, heartbreak, and desperation. She wasn't the same woman anymore. She was becoming something unstable, something dangerous, something that could destroy everything. Issei hovered in front of her, fists clenched, breath heavy. Yasaka and Graphia flanked him on both sides, their auras burning bright enough to set the air trembling. Siristra let out a painful, broken laugh. "You fight so hard for them, it's beautiful." Her lips curled into a twisted smile. "But it also breaks me." Her aura exploded, forming a crimson sphere that cracked the sky with lightning. Yasaka whispered, terrified. "She's tearing her own body apart." Graphia's eyes softened with pity. "She cannot control the corruption," Siristra screamed, and the ground shattered beneath her without her lifting a finger. "Issei Hayadu!" she roared, voice shaking. "If I cannot have your heart, I will destroy it." She vanished. Issei barely blocked her first strike. Their fists met with a shockwave that blew apart the trees. He flew backward, barely catching himself. Siristra appeared again, this time behind Yasaka. Yasaka dodged, her tails whipping in golden flame as she countered with a blast of foxfire. Siristra tanked it. Her body burned, then regenerated. Yasaka's eyes widened. "That's impossible!" Saristra's voice cracked. It hurts, but I'll endure anything, if it brings you to me. She dashed toward Yasaka, claws glowing crimson, but Graphia intercepted, creating a wall of ice so thick it shook the ground. Saristra crashed into it, cracking it but not breaking through. Graphia landed beside Issei, aura freezing the ground beneath her. She's losing her mind, Graphia whispered, voice shaking despite her calm face. She's running only on instinct and obsession. Issei looked at Saristra, really looked, and saw the pain hidden behind the madness. She wasn't smiling now. She was crying. Tears of glowing red energy fell down her cheeks, melting into the air. Why wasn't I enough? She whispered weakly. What do they have, that I don't? Issei's heart twisted painfully. Saristra began trembling violently. The crimson corruption spread across her body like cracks in glass. Her voice broke. I just wanted someone to choose me. She looked up at him, eyes begging. Why couldn't it be you? Her aura surged again, even more unstable. Issei stepped forward despite the danger. Saristra, this isn't love, he said softly. You're hurting yourself, and the people I care for. Her voice rose in a painful scream. Because you never gave me a chance. She fired a massive blast at him. Issei flew upward, dodging the beam, then dove toward her with fists blazing. But she teleported behind him. Her fingers grazed his face. Her voice trembled, her breath warm on his neck. Just look at me, just once, like you look at them. Her touch was soft, desperate, trembling, filled with a heartbreaking longing. Graphia appeared behind Saristra in an instant, grabbing her wrist. Do not touch my husband! Ice shot through Saristra's arm. She screamed but blasted herself free. Yasaka rushed in, landing a burning kick that sent Saristra spinning through the air. You will not steal my family! Yasaka yelled, voice cracking with fury. Saristra crashed into the ground, then rose again, laughing and crying at the same time. You're all so perfect together, her voice shattered. Why can't I break it? Dark crimson symbols appeared along her skin. She screamed as her body began changing. Wings formed. Her aura twisted. Her pupils became slits. Her voice deepened into a corrupted echo. Graphia gasped, hand over her mouth. She's awakening a forbidden form, Yasaka whispered, trembling. It will kill her. Saristra didn't care. She looked at Issei with red, glowing, broken eyes. If you won't love me, then you will fear me, she charged. Issei charged. They met in the middle of the sky. Punches, kicks, magic, roaring flames, exploding ice, crimson beams tearing the clouds apart. Yasaka fired foxfire to cover Issei's blind spot. Graphia threw shards of frozen mana that pinned Saristra's movement. But Saristra kept going, kept regenerating, kept attacking with reckless abandon. Her voice cracked with every word. Why wasn't I chosen? Issei grabbed her wrist mid-strike. The force shook mountains. Because love can't be forced. Saristra let out a raw scream, full of pain, full of heartbreak, full of a lifetime of feeling unloved. Her corrupted aura surged, swallowing them all. The explosion cleared, and Saristra hovered there, chest rising weakly, cracks spreading across her body like shattered glass ready to fall apart. Her eyes softened. Issei, she whispered, voice fragile. It hurts. Issei's heart clenched. She wasn't a monster. She was broken. She reached her hand toward him. Just hold me. Issei moved slowly, not to embrace her, but to keep her from falling apart. But before he could reach her, her corrupted power surged one last, violent time. A crimson storm erupted outward. Issei shielded Graphia and Yasaka with his body as the blast overwhelmed the sky. The world shook. Then, silence. The dust cleared. Saristra lay on the ground, motionless, her aura gone, her body cracked and faintly glowing. She was alive. Barely. Issei landed beside her, Graphia and Yasaka following close. Saristra looked up at him, tears sliding down her cheeks. I only wanted one person to choose me. Issei kneeled, placing his hand gently over hers. Saristra, I'm sorry. But forcing love only hurts everyone. Her eyes softened, acceptance filling them at last. I see why they love you. Her lips curved weakly. You're gentle, even now. Her fingers slid against his palm, not possessive this time, but grateful. Yasaka kneeled beside her. Let us help you, she whispered. You don't have to be alone. Graphia nodded softly. No one deserves to break like this. Saristra's eyes widened, surprised by the kindness of the very women she tried to destroy. She let out a weak, trembling laugh. "You're both too good." Her eyes closed slowly. "I think I understand now why I lost." Her hand went limp. Siristra fell unconscious. Issei exhaled with relief. The danger was over, but this wasn't the end, because the corruption still glowed on her skin, and whatever gave her that power was still out there. Yasaka hugged Issei tightly from behind, burying her face into his back, trembling. Graphia wrapped her arms around him from the front, pressing her forehead to his chest, whispering in a shaking voice, "You almost died, both of you!" He held both women close, arms tightening around them, feeling their warmth, their trembling breaths, their hearts beating fast. The fight was over, but the love between them grew even stronger, and the true enemy had just revealed themselves. Silence settled over the courtyard like a heavy blanket. Siristra's unconscious body lay gently on a bed of glowing ice Graphia created to stabilize her. Yasaka's golden healing aura wrapped softly around the corrupted cracks in Siristra's skin. The girl's breathing was shallow, but steady. The storm was finally ending, but the shadows that caused it were only beginning to move. Issei stood between both of his wives, breathing hard, sweat dripping down his cheek. His arms still trembled from the final clash. He had fought monsters, gods, fallen angels, but Siristra's pain hit differently. It wasn't power that had scared him. It was how deeply she felt alone. Yasaka exhaled shakily and leaned her head on Issei's shoulder. "Too close, too close," she whispered, voice trembling as she wrapped her arms around his waist. Graphia stepped to his other side, her face soft yet tense. She took Issei's hand and held it with gentle pressure. "You protected us, Issei, even when everything tried to break you." He closed his eyes, pulling both women close. "I'll always protect you," he said, voice steady despite his shaking breath. "No matter who I have to fight." The three stood silently, soaking in each other's warmth. Then, a deep tremor shook the forest. Birds scattered. The sky flickered. Magic rippled like a wave across the land. Yasaka's eyes widened. "That's not Siristra's aura." Graphia's voice dropped. "Something ancient has awakened." Issei tightened his hold on both of them. "Her corruption, it came from somewhere else. Something stronger." Before they could speak again, Siristra's body spasmed violently. Crimson energy burst from her chest, not attacking, but trying to escape. Her voice, weak but terrified, rasped out, "He's coming!" Graphia leaned closer. "Who?" Siristra opened her cracked eyes, terror chilling her expression. "The one who gave me the power!" Her voice broke. "The Crimson Emperor." Yasaka's breath caught. Graphia froze. Issei felt the world tilt. That name was not spoken lightly. He was a myth, a nightmare, a fallen royal so powerful he erased his own clan in his madness centuries ago. A devil who sought perfect love, perfect power, perfect devotion, and destroyed everything that didn't choose him. And his soul should have been sealed forever, until now. The sky darkened instantly. A massive crimson sigil appeared above the estate, stretching across the heavens like an eclipse. Then, he descended. A tall figure wrapped in long crimson robes touched the ground silently. His hair flowed like liquid blood. His eyes glowed with an unnatural, hungry light. Every step he took cracked the earth beneath him. The Crimson Emperor. Siristra screamed, even unconscious, her body convulsing at his presence. Issei's blood froze. Without thinking, Issei stepped forward, shielding Graphia and Yasaka behind him. The Emperor's gaze slid toward him. "So," he said, his voice smooth and chilling, "you are the one she desired." Issei clenched his fists. "Stay away from her." The Emperor smiled gently, almost kindly. "Desire is not wrong. But when love is denied," his smile twisted into something cold, sickening, "it becomes a weapon." He raised his hand. Crimson ropes of magic burst from the ground and wrapped around Siristra's body, dragging her slowly toward him. "No!" Issei roared. He burst forward like a meteor, but the Emperor stopped him with a single finger. A single finger. The shockwave threw Issei back across the courtyard. Yasaka screamed his name. Graphia's aura exploded as she rushed to shield him. Issei hit the ground, breath knocked out of him. The Emperor barely looked at him. "She bore her heart to you, in its purest madness," he murmured. "And yet you gave her kindness." His eyes glowed. "That makes you interesting." Graphia stepped between the Emperor and Issei, ice whirling violently around her. You will not touch him, she warned. Yasaka appeared beside her, golden flames erupting around her in a furious blaze. You harm our family, she whispered, and we will burn you. The Emperor only tilted his head. You too love him. His smile grew disturbing. As deeply as she did, his eyes slid to Issei again. That makes your existence a threat to my philosophy. Issei pushed himself up, teeth gritting. He walked forward until he stood between his wives again, aura crackling. You're not taking Siristra, he said, or harming my family. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Then prove that your love is stronger than obsession. Crimson energy formed around him like wings. Fight me, Red Dragon. He raised Siristra's unconscious body like a shield. If you fail, he flicked his finger. A rift opened beneath Siristra's feet. A void, a prison dimension. She will vanish forever. Issei's heart thundered in his chest. Grafia grabbed his arm. Issei, don't. Yasaka held his other hand. He's far beyond us. Issei looked at both women. Their faces were terrified, trembling, desperate to keep him safe. He kissed Grafia's forehead softly, calming her. He touched Yasaka's cheek gently, wiping her tear with his thumb. Then he turned to the Emperor. I'm not fighting for pride, he said quietly. I'm fighting because she deserves a second chance. And because they, he glanced back at his wives, deserve a man who won't run. The Emperor's smile widened. Good, he snapped his fingers. A massive arena of crimson energy formed around them, locking Issei and him inside. Grafia pounded on the barrier, ice shattering uselessly. Yasaka attacked with flame. It bent around the barrier like wind. They couldn't enter. Issei stood alone against the Crimson Emperor. Drake's voice echoed in his mind. Partner, prepare yourself. This is a Devil Emperor, a being beyond the Mao. Issei's aura erupted. His wings spread wide. Boosted gear glowed with overwhelming energy. The Emperor raised his hand lazily. Show me if your love has power. He moved, and the battle began. A punch from Issei shattered the air. A wave from the Emperor erased the sky. The ground cracked. Lightning tore the heavens. Magic collided in blinding storms. Grafia and Yasaka watched helplessly as the man they loved clashed with an ancient monster who fed on broken hearts. And Issei, fueled not by obsession, but by love, family, loyalty, hit harder than ever before. But the Emperor was stronger, faster, colder, unshaken. He grabbed Issei by the throat mid-charge and lifted him effortlessly. Your love makes you weak, the Emperor whispered. Issei's vision blurred. Until, Issei! Both Yasaka and Grafia pressed their palms to the barrier, pouring their magic into him. Warmth, love, strength. A golden and silver light wrapped around him. Their love, their power, their bond. Issei's eyes glowed red with dragon power as he broke the Emperor's grip and slammed a fist into his jaw, sending the ancient devil flying through the crimson arena. For the first time, the Emperor looked shocked. This is not possible. Issei hovered in the air, aura blazing. You wanted to see if my love was stronger? His voice thundered with power. Then look, his wings burst with silver fire. Grafia's ice, Yasaka's flame, his own dragon aura. Together, this is my strength, and the final clash began. The sky inside the crimson arena twisted like a storm of blood. The Crimson Emperor wiped a thin line of black old blood from the corner of his mouth, the first wound he had taken in centuries. He looked at Issei Hayato with something he had never shown any mortal. Fear. You should not possess this strength, the Emperor hissed. Issei hovered in the sky, aura blazing in 3 colors, crimson dragon fire, silver frost, and golden flame. The power of Grafia, the power of Yasaka, and Drake's ancient might. His eyes glowed like molten stars. I'm done talking, Issei said, voice calm and dangerous. This ends now. The Emperor's expression hardened. Very well, then crush under the weight of despair. His magic surged. The sky shattered. A colossal hand of crimson energy formed and descended toward Issei with world-breaking force. Issei didn't flinch. He shot upward, fist glowing with a mixture of magic and heart, and punched straight through the hand. The force rippled across the arena and broke apart the Emperor's attack in a single blow. The Emperor staggered. This time, real panic flickered in his eyes. No, no, no. Love cannot surpass despair. It cannot. You're wrong, Issei said, closing the distance between them. He slammed a knee into the Emperor's stomach. A punch to the jaw. A kick that sent him crashing into the barrier. Outside the arena, Grafia pressed her hand to the barrier, tears in her eyes. Issei, you're winning. Yasaka's hands trembled over her heart. He's fighting for us. Inside, the Emperor roared in fury and launched himself at Issei. They clashed again, a storm of fists, blasts of magic, fire, ice, shattered space, too fast for the eye to track. Each collision sent shockwaves that could tear mountains apart. The Emperor's voice cracked. Why? Why does your love have this power? Crimson horns broke through his hair as his corrupted form began to fully awaken. His body grew, shadowy wings unfurling behind him. His aura became monstrous, a true devil emperor. He charged, claws extended. Issei met him head-on, his own aura blazing brighter. Their fists collided. A crack split the sky. The Emperor felt something he had forgotten long, long ago. Pain. You cannot be stronger than me! He screamed. I am the one who turns hearts into devotion. Issei grabbed his arm mid-strike and pulled him close, staring directly into his corrupted eyes. That's your problem, Issei said quietly. You force love. He punched the Emperor across the face. I earn it. He struck again. And they give it freely, and again. That's why I'm stronger. The Emperor fell to his knees, heavily wounded, aura sparking violently around him. But he still had one final card. He looked past Issei, toward Siristra. Her unconscious body lay at the edge of the arena, glowing faintly. She is mine, the Emperor whispered. Her heart, her pain, her desire, all belongs to me. He raised his hand. A crimson spear formed, aimed at Siristra's heart. Issei's eyes widened. No! He flew, but the Emperor was faster this time. He threw the spear, but at the last second, Siristra woke. Her eyes snapped open, glowing faint but alive, and she whispered one word, Issei. Her hand rose weakly. A barrier of cracked crimson light flickered into existence, just enough to slow the spear down. Issei arrived an instant later, smashing the spear into dust with his fist. He turned back toward Siristra. She smiled softly, broken but peaceful. You fought for me, she whispered, voice trembling. You didn't abandon me. Issei knelt beside her, gently taking her hand. I don't abandon people who need help. Her eyes softened, full of tears. But they're the ones you love. Not me. Grafia and Yasaka watched through the barrier, breath held. Issei squeezed Siristra's hand. Love isn't something I choose by force. It grows where the heart leads. He looked at her gently. And even if I can't love you the way you wanted, I don't hate you. Siristra closed her eyes, letting tears fall. That's enough, she whispered. That's more than I ever had. But the Emperor wasn't done. His roar shook the arena. You cannot save her. You cannot save anyone. He rose again, wings spreading wide, body trembling with unstable power. I will erase this world's love, he charged, his aura exploding violently, forming a monstrous blade of energy. Issei stood slowly, letting Siristra rest behind him. He raised his gauntlet. Drake's voice shook the heavens. Boost! 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 The Emperor swung. Issei countered with a full-powered punch. Their attacks collided. A blast of light engulfed the arena. Grafia screamed. Yasaka's heart dropped. Silence. Then, a crimson shockwave shattered the sky. The Emperor was sent flying backward, crashing into the arena wall so hard it cracked like glass. His armor shattered, his aura flickered, and he collapsed to his knees, coughing blood that evaporated before touching the ground. Impossible. He was losing. Issei stood tall, wings spread, chest rising with powerful breaths. His aura burned brighter than ever. The Emperor stared up at him. Why? How? Issei's answer was simple. I'm not fighting alone. Behind him, silver and golden lights rose. Grafia and Yasaka, their magic pouring through the cracks in the barrier, into Issei. The Emperor whispered in disbelief. Combined love. Issei pulled his fist back. This wasn't just for him. Not just for Grafia. Not just for Yasaka. But for Siristra, too. For all of us. He thrust his fist forward. A blast of crimson, gold, and silver consumed the Emperor. The arena shattered. A deafening boom echoed for miles. And when the dust cleared, the Emperor lay defeated, body dissolving into fading light. His last whisper was soft, almost longing. Love! I had forgotten. Then he vanished into nothing. The barrier fell. Yasaka rushed forward. Graphia sprinted beside her. They crashed into Issei, hugging him so tightly he nearly lost his breath. Their tears hit his chest. Their hands shook as they touched his face, his shoulders, his arms. "You're alive!" Yasaka sobbed. "You came back to us!" Graphia whispered, voice breaking. Issei held them both, pulling them against him, kissing the top of their heads softly. "I promised I would." Their warm bodies trembled against him. Relief, fear, love all tangled together. Siristra watched quietly from the ground, eyes soft, tears falling silently. For the first time, the pain didn't crush her. Graphia noticed her gaze and approached slowly. Yasaka joined her, offering a gentle smile. Siristra lowered her eyes, ashamed. "I hurt all of you." Graphia knelt and touched her shoulder gently. "You were hurting. And people in pain do desperate things." Yasaka nodded softly, offering her hand. "You're not alone now." Siristra's lip trembled, and for the first time in her life, she reached for the hands offered to her. Issei walked forward, smiling softly. "We'll help you start over." Siristra's tears fell freely. "Thank you?" The battle was over, but something new had begun. Their family had grown, their love had deepened, and Siristra wasn't an enemy anymore. She was someone who finally felt seen. And under the quiet night sky, all four of them stood together, broken hearts healing, new bonds forming, and warmth spreading through the cold ruins of battle. The mansion felt strangely peaceful after the battle, the kind of peace that comes not from safety, but from sheer exhaustion. The sky was still cracked in faint lines of crimson energy from the Emperor's fall. Magic lingered. The air felt heavy and warm, as if still remembering the heat of the fight. But inside the estate, something new had begun. Siristra lay in a guest room wrapped in silver blankets, breathing quietly. Her skin was still cracked with fading crimson, but the corruption no longer pulsed dangerously. Graphia's ice magic had stabilized her body. Yasaka's golden aura soothed her spirit. Issei had carried her himself, gently, carefully, and placed her onto a soft bed. For hours, the three of them never left her side. Yasaka sat closest, her tails curled like a warm shield around Siristra's bed. Graphia stood behind Issei, fingers resting lightly on his shoulder, silent but protective. Issei watched Siristra with conflicted eyes, sadness, empathy, and something heavier. When Siristra finally woke, it was slow. Painful. Like lifting her eyelids for the first time in centuries. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Issei." He moved instantly, leaning down so she could see him clearly. "I'm here," he said softly. "You're safe now." She blinked a few times, staring at him, truly staring, without hunger, without madness this time. Just a girl who looked lost. "Safe," she repeated, as if the word was unfamiliar. Yasaka lowered her head, smiling warmly. "Yes. Safe." Graphia nodded softly, placing her hand gently on the blanket. "You're not alone anymore." Tears filled Siristra's eyes again, but not from despair. "It feels warm," she whispered. Issei smiled faintly. "You're among people who care. That's what you're feeling." Siristra turned her face away, ashamed. "I caused so much pain. I hurt you. I hurt them. I almost..." Issei reached forward and gently placed a hand over hers. "You were manipulated. You were desperate. That doesn't excuse everything, but it explains it." She shook with silent tears. "Why are you being kind to me, after everything I did?" Yasaka moved closer and gently wiped one of her tears with a soft finger. "Because we have seen what happens when people break. And we refuse to let you break again." Graphia nodded. "And because no one deserves to face their pain alone." Siristra stared at them through trembling lashes. "You too should hate me." Graphia exchanged a silent look with Yasaka, then both wives leaned closer. Yasaka smiled gently. "We choose forgiveness." Graphia's voice was calm and firm. "And we choose to help you heal. That is who we are." Siristra's breath hitched. She covered her face, crying for real now, raw, trembling, overwhelmed. Issei reached out and squeezed her hand softly. "You deserve a chance to start over, for the first time." Siristra let herself accept those words. For the next week, she healed. Graphia taught her to stabilize her magic. Yasaka made special tea to calm the remnants of corruption. Issei visited her every morning and night, sitting with her, talking with her, listening to the fragments of her past she finally had the courage to share. And slowly, the dull, empty emptiness in Saristra's eyes began to fade. But the household noticed something else too. Saristra was beginning to blush around Issei in a different way, not dangerous, not obsessive, but shy, soft, confused. And Grafia noticed first. One morning, when Saristra walked into the hall wrapped in a warm cloak, she spotted Issei carrying a stack of papers. He smiled at her gently. "Feeling better today?" The girl flushed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I am," Issei nodded warmly, patting her shoulder. "That's good." The moment he walked away, Saristra froze in place, her face burning red. Grafia, who had been standing quietly behind her, cleared her throat softly. Saristra jumped. "Oh! Lady Grafia, I mean I." Grafia stepped closer and spoke in a gentle, almost teasing whisper. "Be careful." Saristra's breath caught. What?" Grafia's eyes softened, but her tone held a playful warning. "You're recovering. Your heart is fragile. And Issei's kindness is very easy to fall for." Saristra looked down at her feet, cheeks hot. "I know I shouldn't feel anything. Not after everything I did." Grafia placed a hand on her shoulder. "Feeling something is not wrong. Acting on it recklessly is." Saristra swallowed. "I'm not trying to take him again. I swear." Grafia smiled faintly, her voice warmer than Saristra expected. "I know. And we're not your enemies anymore." Saristra's heart throbbed painfully. She whispered, "Do you truly forgive me?" Grafia nodded. "We see you as someone who needs healing, not as a threat." Saristra shook with emotion, the idea of being accepted by the very women whose love she once envied so violently. Then Yasaka appeared behind them, wrapping her arms gently around both. Well, she teased softly. "Seems our new friend is finally learning to blush." Saristra covered her face again, embarrassed. It's not like that." Yasaka giggled sweetly. "It's all right. A heart without obsession is beautiful. Yours is finally becoming whole." Saristra's lips trembled into a small, timid smile. Later that night, Issei sat outside under the stars with Yasaka and Grafia curled against him, one on each side. Yasaka rested her head on his chest. Grafia leaned against his shoulder, calm and serene. The wind was cool. Their warmth was overwhelming. "Saristra is changing," Yasaka whispered. "Her aura feels lighter." Grafia nodded. "And she looks at you now without desperation." Issei smiled softly. "I'm glad. No one deserves to feel unloved." Yasaka lifted her head, giving him a warm, sensual smile. "You truly are our Issei." Grafia brushed her fingers across his jaw, her voice low. "Kind. Strong. Loving." Their closeness grew warmer, tender, sensual, full of love. Yasaka's breath brushed his neck. Grafia's lips brushed his shoulder. Their hands slid gently up his arms. The intimacy deepened, slow, affectionate, full of emotion rather than heat. But suddenly, a pulse of red light flickered on the horizon. The three of them froze. Grafia's eyes narrowed. "That is not Saristra." Yasaka rose to her feet, tails flaring. "The Emperor's corruption didn't die." Issei clenched his fists. Somewhere out there, a new force was awakening, something born from the remnants of the Emperor's broken power. And this time, it wasn't coming for Saristra. It was coming for Issei. Yasaka gripped his hand. Grafia gripped the other. Their hearts beat together, warm and steady. Whatever was coming next, they would face it as one. The night was still, but stillness didn't mean peace. The faint red pulse on the horizon kept flashing like a heartbeat waiting to explode. Issei watched it from the balcony, fists tight, breath low. Something was coming, something born from the Emperor's fall. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. Grafia, Yasaka, and Saristra. All three walked toward him, each with different expressions. Grafia's face was calm but tense, her eyes calculating the danger. Yasaka's golden gaze was warm, but flickered with worry. Saristra looked uncertain, her hands clasped in front of her, afraid to stand too close. Issei turned to them slowly. "You all felt it too, right?" Grafia nodded. "That energy shouldn't exist. The Emperor is gone. But something remained." Yasaka stepped beside Issei, touching his arm lightly. "Something feeding on his leftover power." Saristra swallowed, her voice small. "It's searching. For you." Issei exhaled. "I figured." The silence after that held fear, hope, and uncertainty all at once. Saristra took a hesitant step forward and lowered her head. I want to help. Her voice trembled. I want to protect the ones you protect. Grafia and Yasaka turned to her. Saristra's breath shook. You gave me a second chance. I can't sit quietly while something tries to hurt your family. She forced herself to look at Yasaka. I almost took your daughter, your home, everything. And yet you forgave me. Yasaka's eyes softened. Grafia stepped closer to Saristra, placing a hand on her shoulder. Helping us now is the first step to forgiving yourself. Saristra closed her eyes, emotional. Thank you. The air grew warmer. Issei felt it, their hearts pulling together after everything they had survived. But danger nestled in the distance reminded him that moments like these would be precious and rare. Grafia stepped near him, brushing her hand lightly against his cheek. You risk too much, she whispered. Yasaka leaned into him on the other side, her fingers sliding gently along his arm. Let us share the burden. Their warmth pressed into him, comforting and intimate. Saristra hesitated, until Issei reached out and took her hand gently. Her breath caught. You're part of this now, he said softly. You're not alone anymore. Saristra trembled, her eyes filling with warmth she hadn't felt in years. Yasaka smiled gently at her. Come closer. Saristra looked shyly between them before stepping in and joining the circle of warmth. The night wind brushed around the four of them as they stood in quiet closeness. Their hearts beat in soft rhythm. Then Yasaka lifted her head to whisper against Issei's ear. Before the danger arrives, stay with us tonight. Grafia's fingers intertwined with his, her cool touch sending shivers down his spine. Saristra looked away quickly, cheeks red, unsure if she should leave. But Yasaka gently took her hand too. You don't have to be afraid, Yasaka said softly. Not anymore. Saristra's eyes widened. No. I just don't want to disturb. You won't, Grafia whispered. They moved closer, all three women pressing softly into him. Their warmth blended slowly, silver, gold, and crimson, wrapping around him in tender unity. Yasaka kissed his jaw, slow and warm. Grafia kissed his cheek, soft and delicate. Saristra brushed her hand against his chest, trembling with emotions she barely understood. Their breaths mixed. Their closeness deepened. Their hands explored gently. Their hearts aligned. Issei pulled them all close, kissing each forehead in turn. Grafia's cool skin, Yasaka's warm one, Saristra's trembling one. The night air grew warmer, and everything faded softly into warmth and darkness. A night of connection, healing, and shared hearts. Fade to black. The next morning, sunlight spilled into the room. Grafia slept peacefully against Issei's chest. Yasaka curled on his other side, tails wrapped warmly around him. Saristra sat quietly at the foot of the bed, watching them with a shy smile, hugging her knees gently. Issei woke slowly, eyes blinking open. Yasaka smiled sleepily. Good morning, my love. Grafia lifted her head, soft silver hair falling over his shoulder. Morning, Issei, Saristra whispered shyly. Gee, good morning. Issei smiled at all three, warmth filling his chest. I'm glad you're here. Saristra's eyes softened, tears forming for no reason she could name. No one ever said that to me. Grafia touched her hand. You deserve to hear it. But the moment didn't last long. The sky outside roared. A wave of crimson-black energy shot upward like a pillar, shaking the windows. The four of them stood instantly. Yasaka's tails flared. Grafia's eyes turned ice blue. Saristra's aura flickered with fear but steadiness. Issei clenched his fists. That's not the Emperor. But it's something like him. Saristra stepped forward, dread on her face. No, it's worse. Everyone turned to her. Saristra swallowed hard. The Emperor's soul shattered when he died. The largest piece escaped. Grafia's voice dropped. Into Vu? Saristra's eyes filled with fear. A child, Yasaka gasped. Issei felt his blood freeze. Saristra continued, voice trembling. I can sense it. The fragment bonded with a young host, someone innocent. And it's feeding off their emotions, Yasaka whispered, horrified. If the fragment grows, it could create a new emperor. Grafia looked at Issei, voice calm but urgent. You know what this means. Issei nodded. He stepped toward the balcony, the wind whipping around him. I'm going. Saristra grabbed his arm. Not alone. I won't let another innocent fall to the same darkness. Yasaka stood beside Issei. I'll fight with you. Grafia moved to his other side. And I'll protect all of you. Their auras rose, gold, silver, and crimson, merging together like a single flame. The new threat roared again in the distance. Issei's wings burst open. Then let's go. The four of them launched into the sky, toward the new danger, toward a corrupted child, toward the next battle, and the next stage of their intertwined hearts.